please take the attendance.
Chair Miller,
Here.
Representatives Pies,
Present.
Young,
Here.
Copia,
Here.
Conlon,
Here.
Stevendorf,
Here.
Fitzgerald,
Here.
Rangens,
Here.
Nyer,
Here.
Vanderwall, Roth,
Yes.
Bierlin,
Yes.
Smith.
Present.
Madam Chair, you have 12 members present. You do have a quorum.
Thank you. Rep. Heiss moves to adopt the minutes of January 24th, 2024. Today I am proposing an additional committee rule regarding testimony to clarify our procedures. You each have a copy of the proposed rules at your seat. Representative Rangens moves to adopt the committee rules. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Chair Miller,
Yes.
Representatives Pies,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
Copia,
Yes.
Conlon,
Yes.
Dievendorf,
Yes.
Fitzgerald,
Yes.
Rangens,
Yes.
Nyer,
Pass.
Vanderwall, Roth,
Yes.
Bierlin,
Yes.
Smith.
Pass.
Madam Chair, the motion prevails.
Thank you. Today we will be hearing a presentation on the Double Up Food Bucks program from Alex Canela with the Fair Food Network. Please come forward. This program matches SNAP dollars on fruits and veggies, and we're excited to hear more about this program.
Chair Miller, Vice Chairs Nyer and Paez, members of the committee, love to meet you. My name is Alex Canepa. I'm the Policy Director at the Fair Food Network. We're an organization that works to make Michigan a great place to live through food. Our two programs, Double Up Food Bucks and the Michigan Good Food Fund, work to build community health and wealth through food by directing the power of Michigan's agriculture sector towards many of our most pressing public health challenges, including those created by diabetes and heart disease. Thank you for inviting me to speak here today about the Double Up Food Bucks program. Double Up incentivizes the purchase of healthy foods by doubling SNAP benefits, what we used to call food stamps, when they're spent on fresh fruits and vegetables at participating farmers markets and grocery stores. For example, when a family uses their Bridge card to purchase $10 of fresh produce, they receive an additional $10 in Double Up to purchase additional fruits and vegetables. Double Up began at a small handful of farmers markets and grocery stores in 2009. Double Up has since expanded to 235 grocery stores and farmers markets in 66 Michigan counties. Last year, Double Up helped 211,000 households purchase healthy food. From a public health perspective, at a time when Michigan is spending billions of dollars each year treating preventable diet-related medical conditions, we feel that Double Up is a smart investment in prevention. Our saying is, you can pay the farmer now or the doctor later. How do we know that Double Up is making the difference that we'd hope for? The University of Michigan is our external evaluator, and they've been studying the effect that Double Up has on participants for 3 years now. And they conclude that participants in Double Up Food Bucks don't just eat more servings of fruits and vegetables a day than the average SNAP recipient. They eat more servings of fruits and vegetables a day than the average Michigan resident and the average American. That's us. If we can scale that type of impact at a larger level, that can kind of create the population health improvements that our policy is trying to achieve. Double Up doesn't just benefit Bridge card holders, however. Double Up also benefits farmers and grocery businesses by giving them an opportunity to double their revenue on fruit and vegetable sales. Last year, 782 farms directly saw their incomes increase because of Double Up Food Bucks. Double Up is essentially a buy one, get one free promotion that farmers and grocers don't have to eat the cost of themselves. To state it plainly, Double Up helps farmers and grocers sell more fruits and vegetables and make more money doing it. We hear a lot about low-income communities not having enough grocery stores and farmers markets. They're often called food deserts. We find that this isn't always entirely true. There are places to buy food and beverages, even in low-income communities. However, all too often there isn't a financial incentive for these retailers to stock fresh fruits and vegetables in their shelves. And I remember a conversation that I had a few years ago with a grocer in West Detroit, and I tried to phrase this question as politely as possible, but I asked him, why don't you have more fruits and vegetables? And he said plainly, I just don't sell enough fruits and vegetables for it to make financial sense for me to do it. That I'll always make more money if there's pop in my refrigerators than if there's fruit. And this guy, it wasn't because he didn't care about his shoppers. It wasn't because he didn't care about his community. He was a third-generation grocer who lived in the community. It's just that he had to make payroll, he had to pay the bills, he had to sustain his business in a really competitive retail environment. Double Up helps grocers like this by increasing his shoppers' purchasing power to buy fruits and vegetables. In this way, Double Up is a market-based incentive not only for shoppers to eat healthier, but also for retailers to offer healthier options in neighborhoods where there might not otherwise be a sufficient financial incentive for them to make those purchasing decisions. Last fall, Michigan was awarded a 2-year, $8.5 million grant from the USDA to maintain Double Up across the state. This funding is an opportunity, but it's also a challenge to draw down the full federal award. We're working our best around the clock to secure federal matching funds. It's a 1-for-1 federal match. So the money that the legislature appropriated last year was a really helpful down payment on that grant. And we're hoping that appropriations this year, along with contributions from Michigan-based philanthropies, will allow us to draw down that entire federal award and offer Double Up on a sustainable basis for the coming years. In conclusion, I just wanted, since this is the Agriculture Committee and we care about local purchasing, I wanted to draw the committee's attention to this graph up here. One way that I should say the Double Up is at farmers markets, and there the impact on local agriculture is more obvious. That farmers markets sell Michigan produce; it's kind of what they do, and so all of Double Up that's spent at farmers markets goes directly into the pockets of Michigan farmers. But at grocers, it's a little bit more challenging because with free trade and I invite all you guys to look and see where the produce comes from at your grocery store. Unfortunately, not even half of it's from Michigan most of the time. So we work with retailers that offer Double Up food bucks to try to help them identify local suppliers that can get them Michigan-grown produce. And oftentimes they say, we're not hearing, price is the only thing that our shoppers care about. They just care about cheap, cheap, cheap. And again, we find that's not entirely true. We find that frequently if they ask their wholesalers, hey, if you're on the fence with apples, we always want the Michigan ones. That they find that frequently those can be just as competitive, and their shoppers appreciate them more. They appreciate the flavor, and they appreciate supporting Michigan-grown businesses. So in the last 3 years, we're really happy. This is just independent grocers that participate in Double Up have increased their wholesale purchase of Michigan-grown fruits and vegetables. This last year, we were really excited to work with the Michigan Potato Council to offer a promotion in retailers across the state, co-branding Michigan potatoes and Double Up food bucks with recipe cards and in-store promotional material where shoppers can learn more about the health benefits of potatoes, how to cook them, how to store them properly, and invite them to use their Double Up food bucks to buy more of them. So that'll conclude, I think, my presentation, and I welcome any questions that members of the committee have.
Thank you so much for your presentation. The older I get, the more I realize that food is medicine, but I also know that buying junk food is a lot less expensive than buying fresh fruits and vegetables. That being said, how do we get retailers, these grocery stores, to participate? When I learned that you were going to be, doing this presentation, I looked into, how many retailers are actually participating, and I was shocked that the numbers aren't as high as what I'd like. In fact, there's very few in my district. How do we get retailers to get on board with this?
I know you guys hate hearing this, but funding, that every year there are billions of dollars with a B spent in SNAP benefits in Michigan, and we're only able to match a tiny fraction of that. So my back of the envelope math, if we were to do Double Up at every Meijer in the state, it could be $75–80 million a year. So part of the focus is that we expand to as many grocery stores and as many farmers markets as our funding allows. And there are currently 37 grocery stores and farmers markets and farm stands on our wait list. So as it is, there aren't sufficient resources to meet just existing demand, let alone expand to larger retailers. So the focus, I mean, again, we're essentially, to use a medical term or phrase, we're rationing care, that we only have so much money to spend on this program. So when we make decisions about where we expand, we focus on areas where we know there's high enrollment in the SNAP program. We focus in areas where we don't have any sites whatsoever, and that's kind of the guiding focus of what we do. And then after that, factors start coming into play. We're always going to choose Michigan-owned retailers. That one thing about this program is we want as much of this money to stay in Michigan as possible. So almost all the grocery stores in our program, I'm going to go ahead and say almost all, are Michigan-owned, community-owned, independent grocery stores. To scale to every single large retailer in the state, to be totally honest, I think that kind of funding would have to come from the federal government through the Farm Bill. Our organization is working with our colleagues who operate similar programs in different states to increase the federal share of this funding for the program. But in a nutshell, Representative, that's the reason. It's money.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you for your time coming here today. First, I got two questions, if that's all right. First one's a matter of logistics. How do you go about making sure that these items are marked or qualify for the program, and how do the retailers know what does and doesn't qualify, so that way we're not letting stuff slip over into the convenience food market?
Great question. Usually at grocery stores, they've got point of sale POS checkout systems, and all items have a PLU code that, when you're at the grocery store in the checkout and you see apples and you key it in 4076 or whatever and scan it. So that triggers in the grocery store's system that it flags it. This is an eligible product. This is fruit. This is vegetables, and then that kicks it on to the Double Up card. So that is a way that we work with grocers, that it's all tracked in their internal electronic point of sale systems, because they also want to see that to know what they're selling more of and less of. So that's the way we do it at grocery stores. And then at farmers markets, the farmers market, to use the program at farmers markets, you take your bridge card to the information booth at the farmers market, and you swipe your bridge card and you get tokens. And they explain, the farmers market manager explains what those tokens are eligible for and what they're ineligible for. So you can spend your SNAP dollars on anything that's edible and isn't tobacco and alcohol, but and I think this is one thing that I'll give a shout out to the State Farmers Market Association. They do a really good job of explaining to the farmers market managers, when they're explaining this program to people that shop at farmers markets, what is eligible and what is not eligible. And then the farmers market managers in turn explain that to the farmers themselves. So in a different life, I'm a farmer that sells at my local farmers market, and every year when we have our vendor meeting, they explain to us, this is what's eligible for Double Up, this is what's not eligible for Double Up. Because I just sell produce, everything that I sell is eligible for Double Up, but a few of my colleagues will sell, meat and produce, and they know I can accept the wooden ones, which is SNAP, but I can't accept the silver ones, which is Double Up for the produce. And then when we turn our tokens in at the end of the market day to the farmers market manager to receive our money, then the farmers market manager would say, wait, hold on, no, you sell baked goods. This is Double Up. No. So there are kind of two ways that we police it at farmers markets and at grocery stores. At grocery stores, it's more built within that point of sale inventory tracking system. So it's not at the discretion of the person working at the checkout line, but at the farmers market, it relies on the knowledge and the commitment, which we're really proud of, with the farmers market managers and the farmers themselves.
Second question there is, what is the ask? What are you hoping to get for funding to get this program or continue this program?
From the legislature, we need stable, ongoing, year in and year out funding of $4 million. Yes. We think that that will allow us to sustain. So I should take a step back. That in 2019, our goal was to expand Double Up to all 83 counties, and then COVID happened. So all of our funding these last 4 years has just been triage. So the program use during those kind of 3 big years of COVID increased 212%. Just at existing sites. There are actually fewer sites in the program now than there were in 2019. So all of that increase in use happened at sites that were already in the program in 2019. So to answer your question, Representative, $4 million allows us to continue to operate the program at the sites where it already is and not have to interrupt it. And I think that whatever the post-COVID normal is, I think that the use might begin to come down a little bit because the kids don't have the pandemic EBT benefits anymore, and that might allow us to gradually let some stores off the wait list, but to really let everybody off the wait list and to start expanding the program into places where we can't offer it. So, for instance, we don't have any stores in Alpena County. We want to add more stores in the Western UP, Saginaw Valley. That would be a little bit more than $4 million.
Chair, if I may, just a quick follow-up. Being successful working with USDA and trying to get some federal funding, is that ongoing as well? Yes,
sir. We've never been unsuccessful in a federal grant for this program. So we have worked with USDA. We work with USDA a lot. Michigan was one of the first states in the country to do this program. And so when Congress built out the federal funding mechanism for the match component in the Farm Bill, they looked to us to understand what the opportunities were and what the challenges were. And one thing that we're sharing with them is, if you want us to expand and to really make a dent in diabetes and heart disease and also make this a really financially viable program at scale, the federal percentage is going to have to change. It's going to have to not just be 1-to-1 match, but maybe a 1-to-10 match or something like that. The biggest difference in how our program is funded versus the SNAP program generally is the SNAP program, every single cent of the benefits themselves that get spent on the groceries, all of that money comes from the federal government. The state and the feds split 50-50 the cost of administering it, the cost of printing out the bridge cards, policing waste, fraud, and abuse, answering the phone when somebody calls and isn't sure how to use the program. But our funding is different, that our funding is finite and it has to pay for both the benefits and the administration of the program itself. So the $4 million that the legislature appropriated for the program last year, that's not just for administration, that's actually for the food itself. So I think that that's another variable in the equation. And I think that to the extent that Congress is capable of doing anything these days, I think that there's broad bipartisan support for this program.
Representative Young.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for being here today. Just when you thought you knew all you could about the Double Up Food, because we have a farmer's market in my community, the Rosedale Park Development Corporation. They run a fantastic farmer's market for years and years. So I'll just boil it down to a couple of questions. You mentioned the $2.8 million you get. That's a matching grant? I want to be certain I heard that right.
8.5.
Oh, 8.5.
8.5, yes, ma'am.
2.8. Okay, so 8.5.
So 8.5, and we've got so $4 million from the appropriation last year. If we're able to receive another $4 million.
That's where that $4 million is you're
Yes.
asking for? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that still leaves $500,000, but we're confident that we can raise that much money and more from Michigan-based philanthropies to cover both, to draw down the full match and then any other unforeseen costs that come across in the next year. And I think the biggest ones that come to mind there are letting some of the sites off the wait list. There's still a lot of these 37 stores have been on the wait list for 3 or 4 years now. And then also the summer EBT that the school children are going to get debit, essentially SNAP benefits over just the course of the summer, not year round like during COVID, but just during the summer. And we're waiting for clarification from USDA about whether those summer EBT cards that the kids have will be eligible to earn Double Up. I'm 90% sure that they will be, and that will, I think, also increase some of the cost because it's just more dollars out there to match.
Okay, my last question. So in my community, unfortunately, neighbors have contacted me about price gouging, particularly around fresh fruits and fresh vegetables, which is what this whole program is designed to increase. And so I'm wondering, do you ever get complaints? Because I go into these stores too, and I'm like, no, come on now. Why is this one apple $1? And I feel like sometimes these retailers are taking advantage because they're thinking, well, it's not your money anyway, so you can charge whatever. And I'm just really curious to know if you guys ever get complaints like that, and when I get complaints like that, can I just forward them to you, or what? I mean, what should we do?
Yeah, absolutely. We have our info line is a two-way source of communication. So it is, people can call us and ask about how to use their benefits, but they can also call us and let us know if there's something that is wrong or they think is wrong with one of the retailers. I'm not personally aware of somebody reporting price gouging on our information line. What we do hear complaints about are just people at the store are really rude and disrespectful, that they make me feel bad for using my double up benefits. They said that, they don't offer double up, but I see there's a sign that says there's double up. And if we hear complaints about the same retailer, or sometimes just this store is really dirty, like this is just a kind of dirty store, and we think you should know that this is a bad store. And so that's when we'll go and we'll visit the store, and we have, secret shoppers that will go and try to use their benefits. And that's when we can start looking into, maybe there are enough stores that want to be in this program. We don't have funding to let in. If you're already in the program and you're abusing that privilege, then we can look to that. But I would say that we want to hear any and all information about the stores that are participating in this program, because that's part of the deal, is that you can run this program that the retailer doesn't have to pay for, but part of the deal is you have to have more fresh. Oh, another thing we get complained about is just the quality of fresh fruits and vegetables, that sometimes we'll get a call to say, that I went and tried to use my double up at this grocery store and all the lettuce was wilty, there was mold on some of the stuff, and we want to hear about that too. Yeah.
Sorry, thank you, Madam Chair. You explained a little bit of the SNAP with the farmer markets. What about the grocery stores? Can you go in depth a little bit more about that? How do the benefits go across SNAP?
Yep.
I'm seeing up to $20 a day. Just a little more detail on that would be nice, please.
Sure. So at grocery stores, they have a little, I wish I brought one. I gave it to Representative Brixey yesterday, but there's a little debit card, looks like a debit card, that says double up on it. So when you go to the grocery store and you swipe your Bridge card, and then let's say you buy $19 worth of produce, then the cashier will say, are you using double up? And then you say, yep, here's my double up card. And they say, okay, great. And they swipe it. And then that money automatically goes on to the double up card from the point of sale. And then essentially that card that you have in your wallet is sort of a debit card that has a balance that will fluctuate. It'll go up when you earn and it'll go down when you spend, and it can only be redeemed on fruits and vegetables.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. In my previous life, I was a journalist who covered Detroit and spent a lot of time in Eastern Market. And one of the things that, I kept hearing from people was, and you touch on it a little bit, but really not knowing how to make a meal with this fresh produce. And then we also knew that, and know currently there's still a problem around illiteracy in Michigan, and particularly in the Metro Detroit area. And so I just wondered, and it was something discussed a while ago, whether we need to do more around almost like a picture of, you put, water in a pot, and you put a chicken stock, and you put this in and this in and this in, and you have vegetable soup. Without complicated recipes, just something that helps people know how to use these foods, as opposed to just boiling potatoes, which kids aren't going to like, or boiling some broccoli. So it just felt like we needed to do more, and almost even package some things together with like a little illustration, because also not everybody has a stove, but hopefully people can heat up some water and make a soup.
Yep. So Just another shout out to the Michigan Potato Council. They do a really good job of posting recipes, but also video recipes. So you can be literally, English can't be your first language. They've got it frequently. The videos are in Spanish as well. So if you take a picture of that QR code, it'll take you to Michigan Potatoes website, and then I think they have a YouTube channel as well, and you can look and see those recipes. So I'm a huge fan of video recipes because you can have the volume off. We find that almost everybody at this point has a smartphone. Even, you might not have home internet, you might not have a computer or a laptop, but almost everyone has a smartphone. So those QR codes where you can take a picture of it and then watch the video of how to prepare food, I'm a huge fan of those. I think that through the specialty crop block grants, some of those are for marketing, and I think that some Michigan commodity groups, Michigan potato, Michigan apple, Michigan asparagus, have done a great job and could continue to use those funds to produce those types of recipes, because I completely agree with you. The other thing is that a lot of low-income folks have to move a lot, and anybody who's moved recently knows that packing up all the stuff from the kitchen is a real pain. Pots, pans, cutlery, things like that. And when you move into perhaps subsidized housing, that doesn't come with knives, that doesn't come with a cutting board. So I think that that's kind of beyond the scope of what we do, but I absolutely think that helping equip people with the basic stuff that you need to prepare meals at home, so a frying pan, a little bit of oil, a knife, cutting board, that kind of stuff is very important. And I don't know which committee or which organization that would fall with, but I think that that's something that is not immediately apparent, but is very important.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The budget from which you need the match is the MDARD budget, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for your presentation. So I think I have a couple of questions. One, I'm thinking about the food desert concept and how that doesn't, sorry, are you okay? Okay. That doesn't, thank you, Rob Staff. Get cozy here. How, it's urban, it's suburban, and it's also rural. I represent Northern Michigan with Rep. Roth over here across from me, Grand Traverse County, Benzie County. We do have Double Up Food Bucks program. I actually used to work at a farmer's market, and we did that. But I'm thinking about trying to understand the numbers a little better. Mm-hmm. Is the $4 million ongoing that you're asking for, that stable revenue, is that going to allow expansion into I think you said there were 60 plus counties that currently have Double Up Food Bucks. If we got the ongoing stable funding of $4 million, does that allow expansion, or does that just allow us to keep static in the counties we're already in? So that's my first question. Why don't you speak to that?
I would be careful how I answer this. So what I can commit is really that's stable. Like, that's not expansion. Okay. So $4 million allows us to keep the lights on at the existing sites. So at the end of for 6 months, we actually had to pause Double Up at grocery stores because of a lack of funding. So we're, I think, wanting to be as conservative as possible with how we budget. Mm-hmm. So at $4 million, that is stable. Okay. If in 7 months at the end of the summer we're like, okay, post-COVID, the spending is beginning to moderate a little bit, then we can look to adding new sites. But we're not going to overpromise and tell a grocer that, yeah, you can come into the program. Oh, wait, no, we're going to pause the program. Right. So, yeah.
Thank you for that. So I think about this from several angles. One, it's not just a nice thing to do to make sure people can access fruit and vegetables. It is actually, as the chair said, food is medicine. It is actually an investment in healthier Michiganders. And so when I think about what we spend in our budget on the back end for health issues and use of Medicaid, et cetera, to me, this could be a way over time, if we fully invested and made it available in all 83 counties, in improving health outcomes, right? And I have a very heavily agricultural district, so I'm always thinking about how are we making that link between especially our small and medium-sized farmers and growers and getting their produce to market and helping them sustain their operations. So I think about it from multiple angles. So what I will say is I would love to see a breakdown from you. I know we're not a budget committee, we're a policy committee, but we all want to advocate for good things in the budget over sort of maybe historically what we've invested as a state, what you're asking for right now, and then what would it take to get us to 83 counties? If we're thinking ahead, what kind of investment would be required? It was an $83 billion budget last year. I'm interested in understanding where this might fit if we wanted to expand it to 83 counties. So I guess that would be a request for a follow-up from your office if we could.
We can do that, absolutely.
As to what it would look like beyond just keeping the lights on. That's important. Representative Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I just, I wanted to respond or maybe ask a question about this price gouging concept. We live now in a global marketplace where our asparagus is not just Oceana County asparagus, it's Peruvian, right? It's produce and goods that are coming from all over the world that are dealing with weather and natural events across the globe that are impacting out-of-season fruits and vegetables that we are very fortunate to have access to in Michigan and, quite frankly, this country. What type of education are you doing with Double Up Food Buck participants to discuss what is in season and the seasonality of fruit, especially local fruit, vegetables, and produce here in the state of Michigan, and how seasonal diet is, sometimes affected about what is coming out of Michigan's agricultural economy?
It's mainly in our partnerships with the state's commodity groups. So with Michigan potato, Michigan apple, Michigan asparagus, as well as there's a organization called Taste the Local Difference that every year puts out a really slick what's in season guide. And as part of our grant funding with the USDA, we're able to give them a small contract to give retailers slick, appealing graphics that they can put up in their stores that show, the breakdown, like apples are, 30 days till Michigan apples and stuff like that. So that's one. Those are, I think, the combination of our partnerships with the state commodity groups and our partnership with Taste Local Difference is how we're doing that. And then also social media is the least expensive way that we can do that, is that, it doesn't cost anything to post a Facebook post or an Instagram post. I mean, it pays money to boost it, to advertise it, but to get people excited about what's coming down the pike, that asparagus is the first thing that you can look forward to in the spring. And then reminding people that, your winter squash will last 5 months if you and this is how you store it. So those are, I think, the 3 ways that we're trying to do that.
Yeah, I was fortunate to grow up in a household where my mom was, let's jam, jelly,
Yep.
pickle until, we're done and we got our shelf stocked for the year. And I think that type of awareness is important, and how do we preserve that food both in our house and, we have a robust freeze storage network here in Michigan as well that, again, does allow for Michigan apples to be sold in March and April when those are not in season.
And one thing I will add is that frozen, as long as there's no sugar added, and as long as like sugar, oil, preservatives, as long as it's just a fruit or a vegetable that's frozen, that is also eligible for Double Up. So there's a wonderful company in Michigan called Michigan Farm to Freezer. Highly encourage you guys to look into it. It's a wonderful company. It's the most flavorful frozen fruit and vegetables I've ever found in my entire life, and it's all from Michigan. And so I think that that's something that we try to sort of direct people to as well.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we're discovering today a fascination with food deserts, which
Yep.
might not be your issue specifically, but you certainly seem to be in a position to assist with it. You also have a bunch of science nerds on this panel that probably the overlap with working in farmers markets is not unusual. So with Double Up Food Bucks, we're hearing that there is an effort to do advertising or public education on recipes through the internet, through the packaging. I also know that farmers markets individually often do presentations of how to prepare the food and give out information on what's in season. Does any of the funding that Double Up Food Bucks receives go towards the farmers markets and local nonprofits that do that the more demonstrative work on how to prepare the food and what it can be used for and how to store it? Or is that something we need to complement with funding towards your partner organizations?
The latter. I think one thing that I really respect about our work is that, and sometimes it can be really frustrating, is that we try to just do one thing really well. And one thing we've realized is that we are not a nutrition education organization. We are a nutrition assistance program administration organization. And that it is so easy because it's so fun to teach cooking classes, and you could make that your entire organization's mission. So there is some funding. SNAP Education is a program that's funded through the Farm Bill. Michigan State Extension gets some of that funding, and the Michigan Fitness Foundation gets a lot of that funding to do specifically nutrition education and wellness and things like that. So I think that there are sources of funding and there are organizations that specialize in that I would definitely urge the committee to talk to and encourage.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not my question yet, but I recall we had the Potato Council in here early on, and you were talking about diabetes and health issues, and I remember them saying that there was a certain way you could freeze your potatoes that would actually lower the sugar and starch content, which they thought would be more helpful for people who had diabetes. And I wish I recalled exactly what it was, but I remember him saying that. And I'm thinking we should be freezing our potatoes for a while before we cook with them. But my question, you didn't know that either.
No, I didn't. I'm gonna text Kelly Turner right after this hearing and ask her how to do that.
Learn wonderful things here. I also remember that Michigan is the largest grower of asparagus, I think, in the country. So we were talking about Peru here. But anyway, Representative Young had mentioned that you have a farmer's market in your neighborhood. My part of my district on the east side of Detroit is also seeking to establish that. So when you say that you're at farmers markets, do you but do you also have them at very local neighborhood farmers markets, or do they tend to be larger ones like the Detroit Farmers Market or those size?
Yeah, we are at very small farmers markets. The farmers market that I sell at is Dixboro Farmers Market. It is very small. I am one of 4 produce vendors there. So we are at some very small farmers markets. The biggest capacity challenge for the very small markets is, in order to offer Double Up, you have to be accredited with the USDA to accept bridge cards. And that's the real regulatory hurdle that you have to do in order to, because we're basically attached to the bridge card program. So if you can't accept bridge cards, you can't accept Double Up, and that's the rub. And so what we find with a lot of very small farmers markets and some very small bodega grocery stores, for that matter, is the challenge that they have getting and keeping the authorization from USDA Food and Nutrition Service to accept SNAP, period. So I think that is the biggest logistical limiting factor for a small farmer's market or any small retailer's ability to do Double Up.
Do you help them get the USDA certification?
So we are really lucky in Michigan that our state farmers market association, MIFMA, has a full-time staff person, Joe Lazinski, who helps farm markets and farm stands do that. So MIFMA is the experts. We work with them all the time to help farmers get, and they're members to get that authorization. So they're the experts in that area.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you for that very informative presentation and taking all of our questions, which were quite a few, but this is how we learn. This is how we get better. That no further business before the committee, and having no excused absent members, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.